People will tell you over and over again that love is the solution to every wound. They'll swear that if you pour out affection endlessly, give your heart without limits, and remain soft no matter what, the world will meet you with kindness, respect, and protection. But that's a beautiful story, not a survival strategy. Machiavelli didn't see love as an invincible shield. He saw it as an exposed nerve, an open gate, a weakness waiting for the right moment to be exploited. A person who builds his strength on the foundation of love alone will eventually crumble under it. A person who earns fear, or at least commands respect, endures. Not because love is evil, but because it's blind, and the world is not. Love removes the filter that keeps you calculating. You love your family, your friends, your partner. You tell them everything, forgive them before they even apologize, explain away their behavior even when it cuts you open. Why? Because love tricks you into thinking vulnerability equals safety. It convinces you that because you wouldn't harm them, they would never harm you. Machiavelli would smirk at that. He understood that betrayal often comes from the people closest to you, precisely because they believe you won't retaliate. The danger isn't always the enemy outside your gates. It's the familiarity, sitting comfortably inside them. Your adversaries are cautious of your silence, but the people you love, they become comfortable with your softness, with your access, with your obedience. Over time, they start to feel entitled to your loyalty, expect your forgiveness without earning it, and resent you the moment you stop giving. Love, without discipline, gradually converts you into an instrument, sometimes intentionally, often inevitably. Machiavelli never argued for the destruction of love. He argued for its containment. Love with ceilings, love with limits, love with a plan. Because love without boundaries is emotional exposure, and emotional exposure is the most vulnerable position any powerful person can occupy. Understand this clearly. Being cold-blooded doesn't mean being cruel. It means being conscious. Conscious of how people morph when they get too close. Conscious of what you sacrifice when you make your emotions transparent. Conscious of what love transforms into when it isn't questioned. Entitlement. Machiavelli understood what most people deny. Those who truly care about you may still wound you accidentally. Those who stay near because of what you provide will wound you deliberately. The answer isn't to stop loving, but to stop leading with love. The moment you put feelings ahead of strategy, you hand over your leverage. Think about it. Why is it that your family ignores your advice? Your friends tune out once they've extracted what they need. Your partner stops fearing the loss of you. Because they've realized your love outweighs your logic. They know you'll apologize first. You'll come back. You'll explain. You'll defend your feelings. You'll never enforce consequences. And that makes you predictable, soft, safe. Machiavelli warned, it's better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Yet fear feels wrong in intimate spaces, so you stop playing the game and they start winning it. The cost of staying endlessly warm is subtle but devastating. Your standards drop. You tolerate behavior you would crush in a stranger. You forgive without reform. You keep quiet just to preserve a false peace. But that peace isn't real. It's everyone else's comfort built on your weakness. And when people grow comfortable with your weakness, they will test it, then push it, then exploit it. The solution isn't to stop loving, but to love with boundaries so sharp they cut. Show them your warmth, but never without a wall behind it. Because the moment your love becomes unconditional, so does your pain. Strangers don't break you. It's always the ones you let in closest. Machiavelli wasn't paranoid, he was precise. He knew that the people who understand your buttons, your triggers, your soft spots, are the most likely to press them. Not because they hate you, but because they've stopped fearing you. And when fear leaves a relationship, Respect often leaves with it. Test number 1. Entitlement. They stop saying thank you. They stop asking permission. They stop noticing how much you're giving. Why? Because in their mind, you already belong to them. You'll always help. You'll always show up. You'll always say yes. And when you don't, suddenly you're selfish, cold, different. Machiavelli would say, let them complain. That's just the sound of someone mourning the loss of their advantage. Test number 2. Guilt. You draw a line. They become emotional. You say no. They dredge up the past. You protect your time. They call you distant. At this point, it's not a conversation anymore. It's a tactic. They've learned that if they can make you feel guilty, they can make you reverse your decision. And if you flinch, they store that information to use again. That's not love. That's manipulation disguised as emotion. If you can't hold your line when guilt walks in, you never had one. Test number 3. The loyalty loop. You've been consistent, supportive, dependable. But when you're the only one maintaining that standard, it stops being valued and starts being expected. They stop reciprocating, stop checking in, start appearing only when it suits them. And when you finally pull back, they panic not because they love you, but because they've lost their emotional insurance policy. Machiavelli would warn, if your loyalty is predictable, it will be exploited long before it's appreciated. Test number 4. Just this once. This is the most dangerous. It begins small. Can you cover this for me? Cancel that for me. Overlook this mistake. Just this once. But the moment you bend, it's never just once. You've proven you can be bent. They now know you'll compromise your values as long as they stay close enough. That's not love. That's strategic pressure. Test number 5. The "you're too harsh" defense. You speak clearly, they call you cold. You pull back, they say you're stone-hearted. You stop being endlessly patient, now you're heartless. This is how they flip your strength into sin. But here's the truth. They don't miss your warmth. They miss access to the version of you who let them act without consequence. And now that version is gone, they label it cruelty. But it isn't cruelty. It's clarity. Machiavelli expected all of this. He would tell you, the closer someone stands to you, the more they expect you to absorb their chaos. And if you don't, they'll call you cold. They'll say you've changed. They'll frame your growth as betrayal. Let them. The person who fears offending everyone he loves ends up surrounded by people who love how easily they can offend him. The solution is to stop proving you're good. You don't have to justify your boundaries, defend your detachment, or apologize for outgrowing the emotional systems others depend on. You simply enforce, quietly and consistently, without flinching. Let the accusations come. Let the discomfort rise. Because once they know the old version of you is gone, they either evolve or you let them go. Either way, your position strengthens. Being cold-blooded isn't about shutting off your heart. It's about defending your power with precision, especially from those who assume you'll never use it against them. Because if you don't guard your emotional center, you become the dumping ground for everyone else's chaos. Machiavelli didn't build walls to keep everyone out. He built filters to test who deserved to be let in. And once inside, no one stayed without requalifying. So how do you create that same power of boundaries? First, never explain your emotional distance. You don't owe an explanation for needing space, for saying no, for withdrawing from toxic cycles. The more you explain, the more leverage you hand them. Machiavelli would say that to explain is to invite negotiation, but to act without permission is to signal strength. So when someone asks, "Why are you different? What happened to us? Why didn't you reach out?" you don't spill your heart. You don't hand over your reasons. You simply say, "I've recalibrated. That silence, that refusal to bleed emotionally, commands respect, or it reveals who was never capable of giving it. Second, set consequences, not conditions. Most people plead for better behavior. Don't talk to me like that again. Please respect me. Don't do that. Machiavelli would never beg for respect. He built structures that made disrespect expensive. You don't say, please don't. You demonstrate, when you do that, I disappear. And you don't return when they panic. You return only when you decide, if ever. Boundaries don't beg, they act. That's how they earn power. Third, never negotiate through emotion. Once someone knows you cry under pressure, panic when ignored, rush to fix things when they withdraw, they stop respecting your mind and start playing your emotions. Machiavelli wouldn't allow this. Emotional clarity is a shield. Once pierced, the opponent no longer aims at your mind, they aim at your wounds. Protect yourself by staying unreadable under pressure. No long texts, no impulsive re-entry after being hurt, no "I just feel like" explanations. Your silence becomes your leverage. Your stillness becomes your stance. If they want your softness, they have to earn it. Fourth, define what you tolerate and never wobble. Most people's boundaries shift depending on who's asking, how long they've known them, or how tired they feel. That's weakness. That's emotional currency, inflation, and it kills your worth. You need black and white rules. For example, I don't respond to yelling. Once I set space, it stays until I reopen it. I don't reward apologies without changed behavior. And then you follow through without exception. People don't test what's enforced, they test what's flexible. Machiavelli didn't punish often, but when he did, it was surgical, cold, and final. You must do the same, or they'll keep gambling with your forgiveness. Fifth, stop fearing being seen as harsh. This is where most people fold. They know they're being drained. They know their peace is being stolen. But the moment they enforce a boundary, guilt creeps in. Because society whispers, if you're not endlessly patient, you're cruel. If you don't explain yourself, you're arrogant. If you don't let them back in, you're unforgiving. Machiavelli didn't fear being called cold. He feared being called easy. And you should too. Let them call you what they want. Let them rewrite your character to fit their pain. Because when you fear reputation more than reality, you give up power for perception. And perception changes nothing. You're not being cold, you're being uncompromising. Love without boundaries becomes sacrifice. Sacrifice without recognition becomes slavery. Machiavelli would never die on someone else's emotional battlefield. He would observe, withdraw, and return only when respected. That's not cruelty, that's control. Many people hesitate here. They say, but I don't want to become numb. I'm afraid if I go cold, I'll lose myself. That fear is real because people confuse cold-blooded strategy with emotional disconnection. Machiavelli didn't lose his humanity. He mastered when and how to deploy it. In his world and in yours, feeling everything means being controlled by everything. Cold-blooded thinking isn't cruelty. It's control. You don't stop caring. You stop reacting emotionally when calculation is required. You still love, care, connect, and reflect, but only within the walls you've built. Walls that keep you from becoming a pawn in someone else's emotional game. Being cold-blooded doesn't mean you lack warmth. It means you choose when to turn on the heat, and for whom. That's not emotional absence, that's emotional intelligence. Control begins inside you, with how you frame hurt. When someone disrespects you, you don't react, you calculate. When someone lies to you, you don't spiral, you observe. When someone withdraws, you don't chase, you interpret. This internal dialogue changes everything, because once you master it, no one can use your heart against you. You shift from asking, "Why did this happen to me?" to asking, "What did this moment reveal about them?" The perspective changes everything. Machiavelli would never see betrayal as a wound to nurse. He would treat it as data, as insight, as a moment to extract strength from. A truly strategic mind doesn't let pain define them. It uses pain as positioning, as intelligence, as a recalibration tool. That's the essence of being cold-blooded, not numbness, but calculated awareness. The disciplined thinker knows that emotions are signals, not commands. They master the art of delayed reaction. The most intimidating person in any room isn't the one who screams, slams doors, or makes grand gestures of revenge. It's the one who registers betrayal and responds with silence, who steps back without a word, who closes doors quietly but permanently. No fury, no spectacle, just the removal of access. Because impulsive reaction isn't strength, it's predictability. Machiavelli understood that real power lives not in emotional intensity, but in timing. You don't move on impulse, you move on advantage. You don't lash out, you calculate. That's why he taught that power isn't about who feels the most, it's about who waits the longest before acting. This is the beginning of what you could call a strategic pain mindset. Every disappointment, every disrespect, every rejection offers two paths. You can internalize it as a personal attack, or you can catalog it as intelligence. Cold-blooded thinking means you don't cry over what you lost. You record who showed you they were capable of losing you. Then you adjust access accordingly. That's the real transformation: pain into clarity, distance into power, loss into evolution. When you react emotionally, you hand control of your interpretation of reality to someone else. When you absorb quietly, you become the person no one dares to cross twice. It's not about losing your heart, it's about protecting it with a system. Most people enter relationships like warriors walking into battle without armor. They say things like, "I'll give them everything. I'll love them through their worst. They'll come back when they realize." But Machiavelli knew hope is not a strategy. He knew kindness without discipline is self-destruction, dressed as virtue. You don't need to barricade your heart forever. You need to build a gate. And that gate has rules. Only those who demonstrate consistency earn your vulnerability. Your warmth must be earned, not assumed. Your care must be conditional, not because you're cruel, but because you're valuable. The final and hardest shift is this: you must learn to be misunderstood. This is where most people break. They want to be strategic but also liked. They want to be respected but also endlessly nice. Machiavelli would say, if you need others to validate your evolution, you've already given away your freedom to evolve. You will be called cold. You will be seen as detached. You will lose people who only loved the version of you who bled on command. Let them go. Their discomfort isn't your responsibility. It's their loss of access to the old you, the you who was easy to exploit. Cold-blooded does not mean heartless. Detached does not mean disconnected. Strong does not mean selfish. But that's exactly what they'll accuse you of the moment you stop over-giving, over-explaining, over-loving. Suddenly you're too much, too sharp, too different. This is the crossroads where most fail. They either stay soft and get used, or they go hard and lose themselves. Machiavelli chose neither. He walked the middle path: strategic empathy, warmth with boundaries, compassion with calculation. Here's how you follow that path without turning into the monster they accuse you of being. Step 1. Define your intention, not their perception. Ask yourself, am I setting boundaries to harm them or to protect myself? Am I creating distance out of coldness or out of self-preservation? Am I silent because I'm being passive-aggressive or because I've already said enough? If your answer is protection, not retaliation, you're on the right track. Machiavelli didn't care about looking noble. He cared about maintaining position. And maintaining position without cruelty is rare power. That's your goal now. Step 2. Show mercy without losing your stance. There's nothing wrong with giving someone another chance or being kind after creating distance. The danger isn't in the mercy itself. It's in forgetting why you distanced yourself in the first place. When you give, don't erase your standards. When you return, don't erase the consequences. Offer softness, but not surrender. That's balance. Step 3. Control your presence, not just your distance. People think pulling away equals power. But Machiavelli knew the way you show up, when, how, and for how long, carries far more influence. Show up briefly, speak with clarity, exit while your absence still lingers. You become a reminder, not an enemy. Not an emotional wreck, not a drama maker, but the calm strategist who shifts the temperature of a room just by leaving it. That's authority without aggression. Step 4. Maintain standards, not control. You cannot force people to respect you. You can only make disrespect expensive. That means you don't demand apologies, you don't force communication, you don't explain yourself to people who've already shown you who they are. You remove access, you withdraw emotional privileges, you let the silence do the arithmetic. If they rise to meet your standard, you re-engage. If not, they never belonged beside your evolution. Step 5. Let your kindness be selective, not exhausted. You don't stop being kind. You stop being careless with kindness. You give slowly, after observation, with internal checkpoints and exit strategies. If people call it transactional, let them. Unconditional giving sounds noble until it's weaponized against your peace. Now, you give only what aligns with your vision, your energy, and your emotional health. That's not selfishness, that's self-command. Step 6. Don't defend your boundaries. Enforce them. If they call you cold, distant, accuse you of changing, say nothing. Power isn't proven through debate, it's revealed through consistency. If they miss the old you, let them remember it, but don't let them access the elevated you until they prove they've grown too. Balance isn't a line you walk, it's a filter you use. You're not meant to become stone, you're meant to become a mirror, reflecting others clearly, offering warmth only when it's earned. Staying calm, no matter who throws the first punch. That's Machiavellian empathy. Strategic, conditional, and unshakable. You've seen the warnings, you've noticed the patterns, you've outgrown the version of yourself that was too soft to be safe. Now it's no longer a theory, it's a lifestyle. Machiavelli didn't just theorize power, he embodied it. If you want to stay cold-blooded in a world constantly pressuring you to return to emotional servitude, you need rules, rituals, and repetition. Your boundaries must become habits, not announcements. Move without emotional speeches. Don't tell people you're cutting them off, creating space, focusing on yourself. Just move. Slow your replies. Stop over-explaining. Withdraw without re-entry. Real boundaries aren't spoken, they're felt. Stay polite, but never over-familiar. Let your warmth be earned and maintained. Greet with composure, exit while respected. This discipline keeps your image clean and your power intact. Reflect before reacting. Catalog instead of escalating. Never reopen what you closed without re-qualification. Protect your peace as a private strategy, not a public performance. You're not cold-blooded for applause. You're cold-blooded because your life, your energy, and your future deserve that precision. That's the Machiavellian finish line. Total power, quiet strength, no explanation.